All right, let's go. We're live. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Coach's Corner here. Today, we're going to talk about all things insurance. We're going to talk about what your bond actually is there for. I think there's a big misconception where people think my bond's got me covered. That's not the case at all. So we're going to talk about that. But before we jump in, I got to thank my friends over at Bitfreighter for making this show possible today. To be honest with you, they're my preferred partner of EDI over here at Freight Coach Enterprises. The guys at Bitfreighter are on a mission to connect the logistics industry with a flat fee for unlimited EDI messaging. Carriers and owner-operators alike, you're costing yourself business by not having a digital option to accept tenders from your customers. With the Load Accept platform, EDI is no longer an expensive and unattainable option for companies who may have a legacy TMS to utilize for their day-to-day operations. Load Accept levels the playing field for your organization and makes you EDI compliant with your customers through automation. If your customers are requiring you to have EDI capabilities, you now have a seamless and effective tool to utilize in Load Accept. Are you ready to learn more? Visit www.bitfreighter.com to request a Load Accept demo today. Just do me a favor and let them know that the Freight Coach sent you. With that being said, we're ready to rock and roll here. I got my friend, Mr. John Burkhalter, here today. So, John, thank you so much for joining me again to talk about your sick obsession, which is insurance.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thank you. Again, I'm one of your biggest supporters. So, I just want to see you successful and see everyone you work with be successful. So that's my end goal.
I appreciate that, man. And, so I want to start first and foremost on the bond, because that's technically all that's required by you to become a broker. And at the end of the day, let me preface this by saying we are not attorneys. This is not legal advice or anything like that. But what does a bond actually do for a broker, John?
Yeah. So jumping right in, the FMCSA requires a bond of $75,000. What that is a surety bond. And here's how it works in a nutshell. I try to simplify a lot of insurance terms because if you couldn't tell, insurance is the most confusing thing across the planet. I think they do that on purpose, but it kind of gives me some job security. So again, you can either provide that $75,000 up front in a trust fund, which then that 100% of your collateral is tied up. You put up 75 grand, you're covered. You don't need that surety bond. Where everyone else goes, because you don't have 75,000 sitting in your pocket, you're going to go over to the surety department. You're going to get a $75K surety bond. And what that covers is, so you have an obligation to follow what you say you're going to follow. A broker does work with you. You're going to, take it from point A to point B. That's what you agreed to in the contract, and you should do that. Also, if you're doing all the rules with FMCSA, you need to be following, traffic regulations, no texting and driving, any of that stuff. Whole nother animal. But where the surety bond comes in is when you drop your end of the bargain and you didn't take it from point A to point B. The broker who did not have his service furnished because of you can make a claim on your surety bond. So to clarify, Chris has a brokerage. Yeah. You're working with a trucking company. You don't pay that company for what they did for you. They can make a claim against your surety bond to get that money. And what that surety bond will do, the surety team is going to investigate it. They'll underwrite it. And if you are at fault, then they will take out of your $75,000 limit surety bond. The problem is everyone knows it now. Everyone knows that you have a mark against your reputation, your record. I mean, if you were going to work with somebody and you noticed that they have a surety bond that's been depleted from, double booking or things of that sort, or not filling out what they're supposed to be doing, people don't want to work with you. I mean, it's as simple as that. But again, that's the basis of the surety bond.
But what about for a broker, though? Because brokers, again, it's like that's all that we're really required by law. And again, like I understand some people don't want to carry insurance and not, but why is it like, what does a surety bond from a broker's perspective cover?
Yeah. And so again, it's that when you are working with, it's really to protect the other company, which is ironic, but at the same time, if nobody had the surety bond, then everybody would be trying to take from money that doesn't exist. And it'd be everyone trying to collect on each other for things that they weren't able to succeed doing. So backing up, you're a broker, you're a non-asset, freight broker. You are working with a trucking company or you're working with somebody to fulfill the job. If you are agreeing to something as a broker and you go against that and it costs them financial harm, they're going to take out on your surety bond. They're going to come after your surety bond to make themselves whole for what you have them out on, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So my next question is, you're a broker, you take a load, there's an insurance claim. The product is damaged. It's $100,000 claim. What does your bond cover in that instance?
So to be frank, it likely wouldn't cover anything for you. That's the main problem. So that's where the cargo insurance and contingent cargo and all of these other things come into play, which we'll get to. The surety bond is just a even playing field. If you're a broker, you got to put some money behind your name to say, I'll put my money where my mouth is, that I say what I'm going to do and I'm going to do it. If you don't do it, that's when that surety bond kicks in. But for actual things, an accident, you mishandling the load, it's not as much as physical damage and liability that you're doing. It's more reputational damage. You said you were going to do something, you didn't do it, and now they're out some money. That's the surety bond part. The cargo and all of these things is what's going to react to what you just said.
Okay. So essentially, if you're a broker, you just have a bond, you didn't verify that the carrier had active insurance, they take a load, there's $100,000 claim, it's $100,000 out of your pocket as a broker, essentially. Yeah. Is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Okay. So any broker out here who's listening right now, if you're getting started up in this, again, I understand what is required by law. I get that. But what is this going to cost you if you don't have insurance? You need to have insurance, in my professional opinion. And again, some people might agree with that. Some people might disagree with that. But do you have $100,000 in your bank account right now to pay out a claim? Do you? I don't know a lot of people who do. And again, it's like, how are you protecting yourself? Because furthermore, if you don't pay it, guess who's not giving you any more freight? Your customer. So are there any alternatives in this situation, John, for anybody? Or if they don't have insurance, they're relying on their bond. If somebody finds themselves in this instance, is there any workaround at all?
So, I mean, the short answer,
John's not an attorney. This is not legal advice.
Yeah, you can't take my words to court on this, but exactly. I'll help you if you get in one of these scenarios. So, insurance again is same as freight. I mean, it's the he said, she said game. It is the whose evidence beats whose evidence. All of these things come down to that surety bond. And what we're telling you is that surety bond will not cover you for as much as you think it will. Surety companies will try to get out of that at any take. They say this is a cargo issue, not my issue. This is general liability issue, not my issue. So they'll point to other parts or other policy language that this claim could be a part of. Mm-hmm. And again, it's a tough industry to be in regardless. So you're kind of relying on a pipe dream. I mean, if you go in there bare with no insurance, you're just betting on yourself that you're never going to run into an incident, which I can tell you in today's world, it is almost near impossible not to run into a claim at some point.
So, I mean, essentially what I'm hearing though, John, is even if it's a $20,000 claim or a $15,000 claim, your bond does nothing if there's an insurance related issue and your carrier who you brokered the load out to does not have adequate insurance.
So it's a last resort would be my take on it. You have coverage there for a bare bones $75,000. It'd be like endorsing your general liability policy with a little bit of cyber coverage that you don't Don't know it does anything. It'll be there, and it can help in very particular situations. So here's a full example. If a claim's made on your bond, the surety company will investigate the bond. If the claim is determined to be valid, they will require you to satisfy the claim, for example, by paying the motor carrier. If you fail to satisfy the claim, the surety company will satisfy the claim for you. Then they will come to you for repayment. So that's it defends you from having to fork up 20 grand out of your pocket up front, but you have to pay them back. So it's more they're giving you a loan to cover yourself for your misaction. That's what the surety bond's covering.
Yeah, and I mean, and let's be honest, most people when they're taking out a surety bond only, they're not ponying up the full 75K. So you're essentially just adding more money onto what's owed at that point. And if you're not careful, I mean, at what point does a bond company shut you off? Like, if that happens, is it at the $100,000 mark where they're like, hey, listen, this is enough. You owe us, after this additional claim, you owe us 100 grand now, essentially. Have you seen that happen before?
So the quick answer is rate will determine everything about your past record. So next time you go to file for a surety bond, next time you go to your surety bond renewal, they know you have a $100,000 surety loss on it. You're not going to get the same rate. You're probably not going to get 3x the same rate. I mean, that's the world we're living in, that you want to be the cleanest of the pack. And if you're the one hanging in the back of the pack and you're dirty and you're doing the wrong things, you will get found. I mean, it's FMC and FMCSA and DOT, they don't mess around. I mean, they're clearly, all of you guys know that already.
So. No, I just think that, again, it's information like this that needs to be put out there because there's so many misconceptions regarding the bond. There's so many misconceptions regarding what it actually does. And again, I understand where most people are coming from. I get it. Yeah. But in all reality, a lot of shippers, a lot of real shippers who have a lot of freight, who've got a lot of money to spend with you, will not set you up without insurance. All right. It's that simple. At least in my experience, and again, I try not to use blanket statements because I'm sure someone's going to hear that and be like, oh, I got set up without it. The overwhelming majority. All right. I can't say 100%, but damn near close to it. And, so it's like, let's talk about the difference between cargo insurance, contingent cargo, and like automotive liability, and what all of that means and why, like if there's a broker out there who's hearing all of this right now, and they're like, shit, I need to get some form of insurance. What is the one that you think that they should start with? Is it cargo or is it contingent cargo?
So cargo contingent cargo can be located in two spots. It can be in the auto liability or it can be in the actual cargo policy. What we recommend is if you are either a freight forwarder or you own assets, you're going to want your own cargo policy because it is your truck transporting the load and it's on you. Yeah. So cargo, take it from A to B. You want to be covered the whole way, stock throughput if you can. Just a lot of cargo terms out there where you just want a really good carrier. Honestly, in cargo, you want someone that you know is going to pay claims. You want somebody that has a good record, a good name. I've even been seeing, some Lloyd's cargo policies get declined, or you're losing business because you have a Lloyd's cargo policy and other brokers now know that they're slow to pay claims. So it's being a very nitpicky environment in the cargo. But to get back to your main point, you want a broadened contingent cargo endorsement on either your cargo or your auto. And what that means is, even though it's not your truck, it is not you physically handling the load, you can still be pulled into that lawsuit for the cargo claim, which I'm sure you well know, Chris, because you hear horror stories all the time. But that will kick in to cover cargo that isn't on your truck, but you can be contingent liability for it. You can be in the same boat the second the claim happens and you're dragged in. So that will cover you there. That is my most recommended coverage. I mean, that
Yeah. And that's for a broker or a carrier alike, or is that mainly for brokers?
Yeah, so I'd say for a carrier, your auto liability is going to
Yeah.
take the premise. But again, that's where you can get that contingent cargo put on your auto liability policy,
Okay.
which helps cover you for both, because then realistically you can broker freight or you can forward it. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's number one for sure.
Okay. So like, obviously you've been doing insurance for a long time here, man. What is something that you see a lot of brokers doing right now, or they come to you after the fact that you wish they would know up front, like, hey, this is a step we shouldn't have skipped? What is that step?
So a lot of people will scoff at this, or they say they've already heard it before. Cyber coverage is the most important coverage in the coming years. That you will never be able to look at cargo or cyber liability the same as 2021. If you look at any year out from now, it will never be the same landscape. You will need multi-factor authentication at minimum. You will need backups. You will need uh, it's you will need multiple systems. You'll have to be testing for spam, phishing. I mean, it has gotten to the point where if you are not doing all of these things, they're not going to give you coverage. And if you have coverage, they're going to raise your coverage by 300% if you haven't implemented those things in the policy period.
Wait, that's
That
for cyber coverage? Is that
that
for
is
brokers and
cyber coverage.
carriers?
It is.
What does that even like? What does that even entail? What does cyber coverage even cover?
Yeah. So it's crazy. There's first party cyber coverage and there's third party cyber coverage.
Okay.
First party is your company messing up and leaking, financial data, medical information, your customers' credit cards, social security numbers on your benefits plan. Like, all of these things are tagged information and they require a certain fine for having them leaked. I mean,
Gotcha.
that
So
is
if
the
you get
base.
hacked, if your system gets hacked, okay. All right.
And so the scary part is how creative people are getting.
Yeah.
It was a paradigm shift in the industry where it used to be, let's hit Target, let's hit Google, let's hit the big boys, because then we'll make national news, we'll get a huge lump sum payment, and everything will be good, we'll be millionaires. Now they've created academies where they are teaching kids and they're teaching people overseas in Russia, North Korea, you name it. But they have universities of hackers that come after trucking companies. They come after brokers. They come after smaller companies because they know you'll settle without getting the authorities involved. That's the shift. Is it used to be the big boys. Now no one's safe because they can make frequency on 5 to 10 trucking companies, 5 to 10 freight companies without the cops ever being told, because somebody's willing to give them 10 grand to get their systems back online, because it's easier than being down for 5 days. I mean, that's what I say is, think about what it would be like to not use any technology in your entire company, and how long could you do that, period,
Yeah.
without going under. And that is, if you are worried about a 24-hour period, a 72-hour period, you need cargo or you need cyber insurance. It's that simple.
So like what would a thing like cyber, is it like, how would that policy be structured? Is that based off of the size of your organization? Is it just a flat kind of fee? How would you even go about quoting out something like that?
Yeah. And so there's a couple main factors here. Main ones are your controls. And so that's what I was getting at earlier. Your backups, your multi-factor, where you store the info. Is it in the cloud or is it in your hardware in your brokerage office? That's number one. Number two is, what type of information are you holding and how much? So that's really the base, and heavy influence on the controls. So that's where, I mean, everyone I meet with at this point, I'm telling that they need to start the multi-factor authentication process for their company yesterday. I mean, it's a 6-month process, 6-month to 12-month process to become multi-factored across your whole firm, no matter what size.
Yeah.
And that's becoming a prerequisite to have cyber insurance. And no one's told that. I mean, frankly.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, what do you say? What do you say to your agent who's out there right now saying, "Oh, that's not a big deal. You don't have to worry about that." How would you handle a conversation like that? Or are most agents gonna be like, "Yeah, of course we'll sign you up. That's more money for us."
No, the latter, 100% of the time. I mean, honestly, as an industry, we're all go-getters. We're all tough. Nothing is going to happen to us because, we'll handle it when it comes to us. The problem is it's all the game of it's not going to happen to me, and then it happens to you. And I see the shift in every single one of my clients. They'll have an incident, and then all of a sudden, well, how can we get 2 million of coverage? How can we get 3 million? Because I think I need that rather than one. And now you start realizing it goes back to the how long can you be shut down? I mean, if you're worried about being shut down for more than 24 hours, then you need to go look at cyber coverage. I mean, that's what I tell everyone I talk to. And if they don't think it's an issue, it will be at some point, unfortunately. I hate to not Debbie Downer, but I'm a realist.
Sure. No, exactly. And that's where it's not like what is happening today. It's where is this thing trending? What is going on? What is going to happen? And, like with that being said, though, with e-logs and everything else, is that a target for trucking companies where somebody could go in and hack that and shut their trucks down essentially?
So even further on this, which I know you and I have talked offline on this, but people are tracking the GPSs of the trucks to do staked crime, full theft of trucks. Yeah. They'll map out your routes, figure out where your guy is taking his break at his weigh station, go out, get in the truck and drive it off, and it's gone. And they know that because they're GPS tracking every truck nowadays. They have cameras in every truck. They could hack into your cameras in your truck and see what you're hauling on the inside. I mean, that's the level of, they just get more sophisticated every day. And it's cyber liability coverage is going to be it's going to be the new cargo. I mean, it's, as you know, the technology too, that how many people do you talk to that are technology companies supporting freight? I mean, that's the future, is knowing where every single piece of what you're shipping is at all times and where it's going to be and when it's going to be. That's the future.
It's just wild to me. It's wild. But it also makes a ton of sense because cybersecurity has been at the forefront for a while now in a lot of other industries. And you're right. As we adapt to more of a technology focused industry, you're going to need that. You can't handle, like you're talking about, because organized crime, I don't think they realize how dialed in they really are with
It's a business.
It's a business. It's very lucrative. And
it's an operation.
Don't come after me, but I'm just saying, at the end of the day, this is the thing, though. They're already 10 steps ahead. They already are doing this. Like you're talking about right there. Somebody could hack into your truck's GPS right now, find out where your driver's stopping. No harm, no foul on their part. The driver's out of the cab, going to the bathroom. Boom, truck's gone.
And what were you hauling and how much?
Exactly. Exactly. And then how do you handle that? Cargo insurance probably, I'm assuming, how would that, if you're I just had cargo, does that cover?
So that's really where it gets tricky, and it's a bad answer, but having more coverage obviously is better. What I say, I'm not trying to sell you on more coverage. I want you to be covered at the right amount to basically sleep at night. But at the same time, it's there's so many finger pointing. There's so much underwriting companies saying, this is your fault, this is my fault. But if you find that trigger that someone did hack my system and found out where it is and stole from me, that goes to your cyber policy. Whereas now your cargo policy isn't going to take a big slap for that because it was a cyber event.
How do they track that? How do they know that the system's been hacked? Isn't that the job of a hacker, is to go undetected?
Yeah, but you could pretty much tell it these days.
Okay.
I mean,
I'm not an IT guy. I don't
me
know.
neither.
I just asked.
But yeah, there's the amount of companies so we partner with a lot of, basically they do the multi-factor authentication implementation. They test your systems to see where the weak points are, you know, the whole nine. So working with those companies, it's scary to the degree that they know everything. They know everything down to the amount of social security numbers that you have in your holding and the dollar amount that if that were to be leaked, what it would cost. So they build a program around protecting that. Like that they are on the opposite side defending you at all times while the attackers are trying new things, which is wild.
So what could a company do even from like outside of insurance? You know what I mean? Like, because clearly just having the insurance isn't going to be enough.
Yep.
What can you do as a company? Like, what resources are out there? Does an insurance provider like yourself, if somebody was like, hey, I need some fucking serious firewalls behind my stuff, I got to get protected. Do you guys be like, hey, we got, you know, call this number and then, you know, meet them in a dim lit alley, they'll figure it out?
Yeah, it's we send you to a website that has the wrong address and hopefully so a lot of brokers will offer it. It's definitely something that you ask for, either what your vendors are, but a lot of the kind of higher up brokers will have pre-negotiated discounts with just what I said, the multi-factor authentication people. They'll have my biggest advice is to get scanned. I mean, go vet yourself. I mean, have someone try and break into your system and see how scary it is, because I bet they'll be in it in less than an hour. I could put money on it. And just imagine not having dispatch, not having any location on your truck.
No cameras, no nothing. Everything just disabled instantly.
No email. I mean, what are you going to do?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, dude, it's so wild, John. It's so wild to me that this is where we are trending. But again, like the more technology, the more technical savvy that we get from a tech standpoint, it's only opening up our doors to this. So yeah, it's like, if you want to be a forward thinking tech company, you got to have you almost have to have a team of reverse hackers. Like what I like to see is like those YouTube videos of the reverse hackers, the reverse scammers, and all of a sudden they take over their computers and they know exactly where they are. They're like, oh, you messed with the wrong person today. That's what you need to hire right now.
Completely.
You don't need more sales.
You want your library of photos from your whole life? I'm just going to delete them. So.
Jesus, dude, it's crazy though, because again, it's like but where things are trending though, like as a company, as a business owner, you need to think like, where are we going? Because like at the end of the day, like if you're just operating with a bond right now, I mean, this is something to at least look into. And then it's also like, what type of investment is it going to look like? What do I need to do to be able to afford this? Because again, like you're working so hard to build your company up and it can all be taken away in an instant.
Completely. And then, so a lot of what we're talking about too, I do want to pivot. So contracts are something that I haven't talked about. Yeah. I'm sure that you talk about all the time. They need to have specific insurance language and they need to be verified. And the people you work with, insurance needs to be verified. I mean, if you're cutting corners on those things, that is where you're getting a lot of trouble. And so
100% compliance and insurance is the two things that are non-negotiable in my book. No. You need if you're a freight broker, you're a small company right now, you need a dedicated person for compliance who is not financially tied to the shipment, because it can go sideways real quick. So let's talk about like that from a contracts perspective. Like I know like, hey, we're both involved with the TIA, for example. So like there's some stuff out there that you can utilize in there, but like, where would you start? Is that something that you as an insurance agent, if I was like, hey, I need you to look this over for me, I need to ensure that all the insurance verbiage is in line, is that something that you offer your clients?
Yeah. So kind of the base one, so the employer's council, that's what everyone gets access to. It's just a revolving door of lawyers that don't really have a quick tie to your business, but they can help you out in a pinch. The next step would be, hiring outside attorneys, which you're not going to do that until you're a much larger scale, which that outside counsel puts you broke already.
Correct.
So yeah, the best case scenario is what you said, which is we have an entire group that we hired. They're called HR Solutions with our company.
Yeah.
They are 7 different attorneys that manage a hotline. So you could call them at any time for anything. They'll do your employee handbooks. They'll do, everything across the board in terms of compliance.
Yeah.
But contract review is their number one thing. And that they live and breathe it. And they come from a background of defending trucking companies and brokerages. They come from the defense side on helping out companies. I mean, that's where we hired them from. So,
yeah, to me, John, it's just like everybody thinks like, oh, once I get this customer, once I move these shipments, everything's going to be great. And like I talk with my clients all the time, cold calling and prospecting is the easy part, like that's the easy part of this transaction. The real work starts when you get a rate confirmation from your customer or the shipper. Are you protected? But like, fortunately, in a sense, a lot of the shippers that we work with won't set you up if you don't have any of this stuff in line, because again, they've all been down that route before as well. So
a lot of that technology, those websites you're saying too, and they pre-vet your insurance requirements and things that, you have to have certain things to be in the game. I mean, that's kind of your basics there. But then again, you can be so fine-tuned in what you put in your contract wording that risk management is a weapon rather than a defense. I mean, that's how we look at it. We want to use insurance and risk management into a proactive, wedge to help you build your business, not what did I do and how do I get out of it and how much is it going to cost?
What is something right now that a broker or a carrier could start doing from a vetting process? Because again, there's a lot of shady brokers that are out there as well, that are a lot of bad actors that are in this industry. What can you do right now if you're a small trucking company or a small broker from a step 1 compliance thing to verify that the people we're working with are real? What would be your best piece of advice in that regard?
Yeah. So what I do and what a lot of insurance companies use is CAB reports, or Central Analysis Bureau. Have you heard of those, or is that commonly known?
I've never heard of it. I'll be honest.
Okay. Yeah. So it is a report card for a broker or a trucking company.
Okay.
And what it does is it's more tuned towards asset brokers. So if you're a broker working with trucking companies, you can vet the trucking company better than vice versa, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So in that avenue, it tells you all of their recs. It tells you their violations. It says texting and driving. It honestly, if you haven't seen a CAB report, I can send you one or send the group and post it wherever you post things. But
yeah, I would say throw that out there in the live stream later on in the replay, so people can see that, because again, like that's one of those things that is this something that is it a monthly fee that you pay for, or how does that look?
Yeah. So depending on, again, so all my clients get, either a monthly or a quarterly update depending on what they want. And that's just me being proactive for them. But at the same time, it tells you exactly what you're doing. It tells you when you get over a certain safety threshold and you get an alert. And all of a sudden so have you heard of inspection selection score, ISS score?
Yes.
So that's on your CAB report, and based on your vehicle maintenance, your driver fitness, so their hours, your logs, those things, crash indicator. So if you have guys that are texting and driving, you have guys that are, running speed limit, 15 over, things like that, your crash indicator will go up. It is. And then drug and alcohol is a whole category. Yep. So that also impacts your crash indicator. But what I'm getting at is the ISS score, you can have under a 45, which means it is a optional. Well, it's satisfactory. It means if you get pulled over or you go to a weigh station, they aren't going to inspect you. I mean, it's up to them, but they know you're under a 45, which means you're probably good.
Yeah.
When you go 45 to 50 or 45 to 75, you're in the range called optional.
Say screwed. You're in the
Yeah.
range called screwed.
Well, we're getting to screwed. So
yeah. Okay.
Optional is, you got a nice guy that pulled you over. You got a weigh station person that, isn't really feeling like inspecting you that day.
Yeah.
They won't do it. But it's saying, you might look at this guy, like you might find something wrong. You go above 75, you turn into a red light on the stop sign. It's mandatory inspection at every weigh station and every pullover. And it only gets worse if you don't fix what you're doing as you continue to get inspected.
Gotcha.
So you can go into a death spiral and you might not even know it because you've never heard a cab or you've never had a ISS score. But
yeah. That's why we got to reach out to I was going to say, my friend Adam Wingfield, shout out Adam. He's in the comments right now. Cab provides a ton of detail on carrier risk. It shows red, yellow, and green. However, as a new entrant, regardless of the score, you are highly likely to go under inspection. Monty King, shout out to Monty as well. Companies can get their own reports for free. So no, this is all great information that's being put out there. Because again, like I've literally been in this industry for a long time, man. Like I'm sure I've heard, like, again, I don't remember or recall ever hearing about a cab report, but that's
you've probably seen one too, but
yeah, I'm sure, but I don't remember it.
Yeah. But that it can be damning. I mean, honestly, and when we think about it in terms of insurance, obviously don't hold me to rates, but you see a 10,000 truck, so 10,000 per truck for a company. That's kind of average right now, which sounds horrible, but that's where we're at in life. You get an alert, you're pushing 15 a truck. You get 2 alerts, you could be pushing 35 a truck. That's
annual.
Yes. Monthly.
$35,000 a month.
Yeah. So I've seen 33 for a monthly payment for your trucks. But going back.
But how many, like in context, how many trucks are in that fleet?
That's like a smaller fleet. So maybe 10 where they're, yeah. So if we're talking, 200 trucks, you got a little more leeway. You got a little more, law of large numbers, you get better percentages across the board. If you're just failing left and right and you're 10, 5, 3 trucks, anything like that, it hits you hard because it's based on your total miles.
That is insane.
Yeah.
That's so wild.
Yeah. It's just, again, you can basically either 2x or 3x based on alerts is kind of the safe estimate.
So is this all information though, then like a broker can see or a broker can start utilizing to vet their carriers? Because again, like there's only so much that people know out there, and anything you can do to help in that event, like, because again, lawyers and insurance agents don't give a shit that you had a bad day and didn't do your job. They actually are hoping you had a bad day and didn't do your job, so then they can get their money from that. So it's like, to me, it's like any and every step that's out there. What's the importance of, in the digital world that we're living in right now, John, what is the absolute importance of calling the insurance company direct and verifying that the information that was being sent over is actually accurate? Like, what can a broker do there? Because I'm a big stickler on certificates.
Yeah.
I'm a massive stickler on I don't even care if the insurance agent sends it to me. If John emailed me direct the certificate, I'm still calling John to be like, hey, just want to verify this is all real. I got to see that you're a real person here, because anything can be doctored these days. Anything.
You couldn't be more spot on. I mean, if you're provided a certificate of insurance, that could be a snapshot in time. I mean, that doesn't always have to be current. Somebody could have, just like you said, forged it easily. Yeah. I mean, it's a PDF. Like, there's not anything that
I'm even smart enough to update a PDF.
Me too. I think give it a go. But no, yeah. So it's hard to say, but I put a lot of it on me. I mean, so I am an insurance broker. The difference between an insurance broker and the underwriters and carriers are what you're saying. They're a bank. I mean, realistically, they're going to get their money, and they're the best at it, better than any other bank. I mean, insurance companies know how to duck and dodge.
Yeah.
You want to get with the best companies that are vetted by a good broker, because your broker should have your interests at heart. And when I say broker, I mean insurance broker. I mean that.
Yeah. Not your freight broker.
Yeah, they're on the freight broker's side. We're in your corner, teaching you, coaching you how to be properly covered, how to work with the right people. And we do vet a lot of the incoming companies they work with. So can you run a compliance check on so-and-so? Here's the DOT, can you check on them for me? Things like that.
For sure. For sure. No, I get it, man. Hey, we got like 5 minutes left. I want to talk about how, like, if you're a small broker or you're a small carrier out there and you're dealing with a claim for the first time, what is something, or you haven't dealt with the claim yet, but let's be honest, it's only a matter of time in this industry. What would your piece of advice for them to be like? What would be their first steps if the event, like, hey, there's damaged product? What should a broker or carrier do to document? What are their next steps to have in place? So when we do call our insurance company, we're kind of ahead of the curve and we're not going back and forth.
Yep, completely. So the second you know about anything, I mean, obviously your truck driver will give you a call, or whoever you're working with give you a call, something happened, and you need to know everything. And when I say everything, pictures, mileage, where you're at, who the driver was, his record, his MVR. You want to know everything that you possibly could know that could help you out and stack it. That is the blunt way to say it, but at the same time, in this day and age, my main thing is cameras don't lie. So ELDs, you need to be, it's defensive now, Chris, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
You need to have a mobile vehicle that you can defend when somebody fake hits you, because that's a thing now.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Even a forklift driver, John, like, my thing is if I own trailers, if I own a trucking company, every single one of my trailers would have cameras on the inside, every single one of them. Not only would I have cyber insurance, but my cameras would be in there, because again, I can't tell you the amount of times as a broker I dealt with, the product shifted in transit, it's the driver's fault. When in actuality, the forklift driver had an error and knocked over 4 fucking pallets and is now trying to blame the driver for that. Again, not everybody is innocent in the situation. I understand that real things happen, but in a lot of these instances, as a business owner, how do I protect myself? Because that's what you need. Or else, how many times is a forklift driver running their forks through the side of your trailer? There's a lot of real stuff that can happen, and you just need to protect yourself, because everyone is going to try and protect themselves in that instance.
Yeah. Everyone's your friend in business until a claim.
Bingo. Everyone's your friend until it messes with their bag. Then they're upset.
Yes.
For you, it's like, even if you're a broker, it's going to be pictures, the name of the person who, is the receiving manager that's there, have the driver, document as much as possible, the time that the claim or the damage had happened, and having all of that, that's going to set the broker in a better position with their insurance agent at that time to get the claim rolling. Correct.
Yep. And so again, just little notes. You can find a lot of your claim information on one of your pages in your policy, or again, since you probably didn't read the 300-page policy, you could call me and I can tell you where to go with our claims department. But it's about having someone in your corner that knows exactly who to talk to. They've worked with the adjuster for 40 years. They know them by their first name, and they go, come on, Gail, this is fraudulent. I've worked with you plenty of times, and they're my client, and you're not going to put this on us. When you have that leverage, it's a whole different conversation than a broker, calling nationwide and just trying to figure. You probably have to call 17 different numbers to find the claims department and then find who it is. But it's you know what I'm getting at. It's
absolutely, man.
Leverage comes.
Yeah. And that's what I want. I want a lot of this. It's the smaller companies that are out there that don't have a lot of experience in this, and it's only bound to happen. That's why I want them to listen to something like this, to know how to handle it, how to go about it. Because again, like I come from a family of truck drivers. I come from a family of this. I want to see the drivers protected out there. You know, I want to see brokers protected out there as well. I want to fight for the little guy in any way I possibly can. And it's conversations like this. So John, thank you so much for taking the time to join us all here today. How can anybody reach out to you if they're like, you know what, this John guy kind of sounds like he knows what he's talking about?
I appreciate it. Yeah. So I'm all over LinkedIn, same as you can tell. But John, JOHN Burkhalter, BURKHALTER @USI.com. My cell phone, I'll give it to you the second you shoot me an email, but
perfect.
I'm really happy to help anybody. Honestly, I'm just same for you. I think it's our job to tell what people don't know and help people live their life and run their business that's maybe been in their family for 5 generations.
Exactly.
I mean,
I want to protect the American dream in any way I possibly can. Protect that American dream of entrepreneurship and keep that going. So, John, thank you so much. Thank you guys all for tuning in. We're a couple seconds over, but you know what? It's my show. I can do whatever the hell I want sometimes. So next week, though, we're going to go live again. Like I said, we're going live every single Thursday at noon Central. I appreciate you guys all so much. I love you all, and we'll be talking to you soon.